Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Congratulations, you've learned some things about the words rafa and nasab and jar. Rafa is your doer, nasab is your detail, and jar is after av. When you say rafa, it's the u sound, and when you say nasab, it's the a sound, and when it's jar, it's the e sound at the end of a word. So for example, if it's Muslim, muslimun, if you hear u or un, then that's the rafa version. If you hear a or an, it's the nasab version, and if you hear e or in, it's the jar version. So that's a quick reminder again, if you hear u or un, that's your doer. That's your rafa, which means that's your doer. I want to give you a couple of examples from the Quran to make you think about the importance of rafa and nasab and jar, which is actually one of the most important lessons in Arabic altogether. This is an ayah of the Quran, or a piece of an ayah, وَقَتَلَ دَاوُدُ جَالُوتَ, which translates Dawood killed Jalut. The act of killing, qatala, is being done. Now, there are two people mentioned, Dawood and Jalut. But if you pay attention to Dawood, the ayah ends or says Dawudu. Dawudu, there's an u at the end, which actually means rafa. And Jaluta ends with a at the end, which means nasab. Now Dawudu at the end u means Dawood is the one who did the act of killing. That's how we know he's the doer. That's why I'm translating Dawood killed Jalut. Now imagine if somebody doesn't pay attention to the ending sounds and recites وَقَتَلَ دَاوُودَ Jalutu. If you mix it around, if you say Jalutu, then Jalut is the one who killed, and Dawood is the one who got killed. It just reverses it all together. Let me show you another example of that. Allah says, وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ. In this ayah, I want you to pay attention to two words, the word Ibrahim and the word Rabb. I'll translate it first. When his master tested Ibrahim. That's the phrase. When his master, meaning his Rabb, tested Ibrahim alayhi salam. The two words I want your attention on is the word Ibrahim and the word Rabb. The word Ibrahim and the word Rabb. Now look at the word Ibrahim. How does it end? It ends Ibrahima, which means it's not rafa, it's not the doer. And look at the word Rabb. Does it say Rabbu or Rabba or Rabbi? It says Rabbu, which means Rabbu is the doer, even though it's afterwards. So the order doesn't matter. What matters is what's the sound at the end. Now, ibtala means tested. So who tested who is the question? Who is the doer of the testing? It's actually the Rabb. His Rabb is the one who tested Ibrahim. Again, somebody makes the mistake and says, instead of saying Ibrahima, recites Ibrahimu instead. When you say Ibrahimu, then Ibrahim becomes the doer. And you know what that means then? Ibrahim tested. Ibrahim didn't test. Ibrahim is the one who got tested. It's the other way around. And that the only way you learn that is just because of the a at the end. That should have been in, if you don't recite that a and you recite it in u instead. I'll give you one more example of that, and one of the scariest examples of that. Allah says, and speaking of fear, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءُ. Long ayah, lots of Arabic in there, but before I tell you what it means, there's two words I want you to pay attention to and think about what's rafa and what's nasab. The word Allah is nasab, which means it's not the doer, it's a detail. The word Allah here is not doing something. The word al-ulama, which means scholars, al-ulama is actually rafa, because of the u at the end, al-ulama u. And because of that u at the end, we know, even if you don't know the whole ayah, what you do know is that the word ulama, scholars or people of knowledge, are doing something in this ayah. So let's dig deep into the translation a little bit and see what they're doing. إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءُ. It is only the people of knowledge that truly, among his slaves, that truly fear Allah. The people of knowledge are the only ones that truly fear Allah. That's what he's saying. So who does the act of fearing? Who's the doer of fearing? It's the people of knowledge. How do we know they're doing the fearing? Because it ends with al-ulama because they're rafa, they're the doer. If they were al-ulama they would not be doing the fearing. Somebody else is doing the fearing. Now imagine, I can't even translate, but if somebody said Allahu in this ayah, instead of saying Allah, then you would blasphemously be attributing fear to Allah. What a huge mistake just between rafa and nasab and jar. So this stuff is a very, very big deal. What you're learning at the foundational level is actually the basic mechanics of the Arabic language, and this is really, really cool stuff. Just remember, it's not the order that tells you who's the doer and who's the detail. It's actually the ending sound, or eventually the ending combination, that is going to tell you who's the doer and who's the detail. Congratulations on continuing your learning. I'm very, very proud of you. May Allah Azza wa Jal give all of us more and more depth in the Quran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.